You should have going to a better level of awareness. And now, yo, it's seed talk, stuff to make your seeds raw. I came from earth. Close like street art. I came to plant seeds, I came to breed trees. Together we bear fruit, you can check the leaves. Shed light on blind spots, water the grass is green. Everybody is a coach, we speak as a team. Being supreme, we the seen and unseen. Yo, we gotta keep it real to wake you out of your dreams. Yo, it's seed talk, stuff to make your seeds walk. Seed talk, stuff to make your seeds walk. It's seed talk, stuff to make your seeds walk. It's seed talk, stuff to make your seeds talk.
Yeah. I remember how it all started when Bobby started mocking me and saying, doing this. I had to just turn it into a song. Pressure, you also remember when Bobby used to bully me, you know, when we first started and say I was late to the Seed Talk and the podcast because I had to talk to my makeup artist and get a
It sounded like I was explaining your tardiness. That's what you're focusing on, the wrong part.
No,
y'all talking about how Ashley's coming on.
I'm focusing on how I felt.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not about me being tardy. My lack
We're gonna unpack that.
It's not about my punctuality. It's not how it impacted other people. It's how I felt.
Oh, let's unpack that.
Yo, y'all know what it is. We got the crew back again. It feels good. The crew is back. You know who it is. It's the magnificent Bobby. Oh Lord. Oh my God.
Is that my intro? That's disrespect. That's disrespect. At least give me Ed Sheeran if we're gonna go down that road.
Oh wow, that was good. That was good. It's the magnificent.
Say what you were gonna say.
It's the magnificent Tank Top Bob, aka Bobby Braids in the house.
AKA Bobby Page.
Hey, baby.
Oh,
and we got. She ain't did it for a while, but it's checklist Precious P.
Checklist. Never heard of that one. Checklist.
Precious, I feel like you missed your opportunity to have a running theme on Seed Talk where you just go through your whole little checklist. Oh my goodness, we got Bray Bray in the house.
Look at that cute baby.
Oh
hey.
my goodness. It's going to be hard for me to concentrate. But anyways, here we go. It's Seed Talk. Make sure that you guys are sharing and commenting. If you are in the YouTube universe, please make sure that you are subscribing to, this channel and whatnot. And make sure that you're making the algorithms do the algorithm thing and you're sharing and you're commenting and doing all that stuff. And if you want to donate to Seed Talk, because I be telling people, I reminding them, man, like this premium plan I'm on StreamYard is not free. So if you could donate, Cash App, Logic I'm in, Venmo, at Logic I'm in, I would really appreciate it. You know what I mean? So anyways, let's get into the topic, today and whatnot. We were talking about, I said, I've been trying to get us back on. Bobby has been growing out his armpit hairs, and so he has not been able to be on the show, and he's been standing me up. I remember one time we were supposed to do a show, and this guy wants to be a great significant other and a father, and he canceled on me because, he said his family was more important, like it is now. Anyways, Precious, has made time, and we knocked out a great episode the other day. I thought that was awesome. And I came to him today. I said, man, I want to talk about this woman with the brick. She says she got hit in the face with a brick. She did the whole live. She said that she wouldn't give this brother the time of day, and he hit her in the side of the face with a brick. And she recorded it right after it happened. Said she wouldn't give him his number, so he picked up a brick. I always thought that it was terrible, but I also thought that she was very fortunate that her face was swole up.
Yeah, I did see that.
But it wasn't like there was no like laceration or gauge. You know, I was like, man, you're fortunate you didn't catch a corner. Then the allegations came out that her allegations were fake. People were saying she didn't got the community some years ago for like a few racks, that she's done this before. I even read something that said that was saline solution that she pumped into the side of her face to make it puffed up like that. I don't know if y'all heard that.
I have my.
Then I was watching some other podcasts out there like Tariq Nasheed, and you know, he has his whole immigrant stance that he has, which is really interesting that he's so anti-African diaspora when he has a whole franchise called Hidden Colors based on the African diaspora. But it's just really interesting. But he was just saying, why is it that these immigrant, I think he calls them tethers, why are these immigrant tether black folks calling on black people to support them when another one of their immigrant, you know what I'm saying, colleagues or peers have hurt them when they don't want to be, you know what I'm saying, FBA, Foundation of Black American, only when it's convenient. Basically saying, y'all ain't black people, y'all are African, y'all are Haitian, y'all are Caribbean, y'all are Afro-Latino, until you want support from the black community. I felt he was going way out of the way to like just have this, you know, to continue this campaign against, you know, black people who have immigrated from different countries. And I thought it was interesting. Now this woman has come forward. She got receipts now. She got medical documents. She got a police report. And it's still people, you know, pushing back. So I was like, man, I wanted to talk about I wanted to really talk about like, how do we, you know, be sensitive and empathetic towards, you know, other black people in our community who have said they've been targets or victims of, you know, abuse, but at the same time being like, still want to make sure that we're being responsible and not, you know what I'm saying, just taking everything on face value. We saw that situation with the sister who was allegedly kidnapped, and then it came out that that wasn't necessarily true. Then Precious came forward and said, I think this is a situation of respectability politics.
Not this particular case. I was talking about the Jeannie Ike, whatever her name is.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That. Now, with that, I wouldn't necessarily say it's respectability politics, at least not in that situation. But I've been looking at the responses from the community on that case, and it's very, very interesting. Because a lot of black women ask, you know, I understand, they ask, you know, how come nobody didn't intervene or even check she was okay or anything? Like, nobody really didn't step in. Because apparently in the video, again, y'all, I did not watch it. So don't come on this post talk about you ain't seen it. I know that. I'm just going by what they said. And they were saying there were people around who saw everything happen. No one intervened or anything. Nobody called an ambulance, no authorities, none of that. Nobody didn't step in. And you know, a lot of people, especially black men, saying that, you know, I'm not trying to put my I ain't trying to step in and catch no bull or brick for anybody, and I'm not putting myself in the way of danger or anything like that. And you know, one flip side, I do understand that nobody want to get themselves hurt, but on the flip side of it, it's kind of one of them things. We didn't say the same thing about this when the Montgomery beef went down in Alabama, when you jumped 5 white men and you got yourself involved, which could have led to something worse. Thankfully, nothing happened besides hitting the head with a chair, but nonetheless, everyone pretty much came out alive. But nobody didn't predict that or thought about that when that was going down. So why is it when it comes to a group of white men, we all praise and happy that they did it? And of course I am. But when it comes to within our own community, when it's a man versus a woman, which from what is claimed, she didn't want to give the dude her number, and the dude got upset and decided to become violent with her. All of a sudden you worry about your safety. Now you don't want to be involved. Now it's none of your business. So I think it's kind of like we got to question, why do we view certain people or a particular demographic within our community less how you put it, less privileged to be protected, I guess you could say, or defended in a sense. I think that's the real question around that scenario more than anything, in my opinion.
So what I hear you saying is, let me frame the argument. I think it's a good argument.
Okay, go
You're
ahead.
saying is, why is it when black people beat up on black people, we're more apt to stand around and, commentate, and spectate and be bystanders and videotape it and try to get likes and views. But when it's white people beating up on us, we want to jump in and then celebrate that.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that, because I don't call anybody jumping in with the George got the guys George Floyd.
George Floyd, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's different though.
I know that's different, but
that's police officers. That's not civilians.
But the point I'm getting at, we don't always do. I think that's why we were so enlightening, or so full of energy or excited when that went down, because we don't see that often. Even when it is white people doing it, we don't tend to see that quite often. So it's kind of one of the things. If we could do it against predators or whatever people think hurtful things outside of a community, we should be able to handle things that's within our community as well. But I don't think we tend to do that. And someone kind of broke it down on TikTok. I wish I saved that video. I don't know if I saved that video or not. I probably didn't. But he stepped on the midst of the reason why he think that went the way it went with the Montgomery incident compared to the woman getting hit in the brick, because when a black man sees another black man, he thinks of brotherhood. However, when it comes to seeing women, it's based on his relationship with her, whether she's a family member or he having relations with that woman.
Yeah, I'd push back on that and say it's the same thing with women.
I get what he's trying to say, but would I apply to every black man? Of course not. But based on the reaction that I've heard from this video, I see why he said that. But y'all go ahead.
Well, yeah, I would say I would push back a little bit. I think that when men see other black men, when black men see other black men being victimized or a target, they think brotherhood. And I think black women do the same thing. They think sisterhood. So I think women are more apt to jump in if a sister's being hurt. But I don't know. I know I know there's a lot of instances where I know there's a lot of instances where black women are more socially conditioned to see that they are the mothers of all people in our community. So they're jumping in whenever someone, and I think black men have kind of, I don't know. We don't see ourselves always as the father of everyone in the community. Like, I hear a lot from black men, to be honest with you. I hear a lot from black men that said, I ain't none of my business.
Yeah.
And when I usually hear that, Bobby and Precious, unfortunately, is when another black man is putting hands on like a family member or something. You know what I mean? Like if he's putting his hands on his woman or a person, or not his woman, but a woman he's involved with, I hear a lot of brothers say, hey man, I ain't none of my business. That's their relationship. But I also see black women do that to other black women when they see them abusing their children. They'll sit back and let their homegirls beat the mess out of their kids, sock them all in their chest, and then they'll make some kind of excuse. Well, she got to be the daddy too, because that Negro ain't around. So it's all plantation politics and mentality to me. What you thinking, Bobby, as you over there playing a dad? That's why I love Seats. I look at us just leading by example.
I think the feedback to the video was more interesting than the video. The things that I continue to see were about whether that individual was worthy of protection. And I think that's what Precious was getting at. There was a lot of people who were saying that she just didn't deserve it, that she didn't deserve to be protected.
Wow.
I saw a lot
that
of that
comment came out a lot. And it was about her prior conduct. And, my whole thing is I'm trained to not be concerned so much about the before and after. So it's not necessarily in me to say that there's something that she could have done 5 minutes before that that would have rationalized it. But I also would have said, if we're in a place where there's the type of people that are willing to take a brick to somebody's head, I need to prioritize getting out of there as well. So I understand somebody saying their personal safety is more important than this other person's personal safety. But I think that there is something to the idea that there are individuals that were willing to step out and take risk for it, and then there are people that were not. I think what Precious is getting at, and what a lot of the women were getting at, is that if that woman was someone that a man found attractive for whatever reason, they might be willing to take that bullet. If that woman was somebody that was less expressive, then maybe they would have took that bullet. Because like there was videos from other women that discussed how like 5 minutes earlier she had slapped the daylights out of somebody, and it's on video. Same outfit, looks like it's happening around the same time. And someone said, because of that incident, I would not have stood up for her getting hit with the brick. And I was like, that's such disproportional violence. Like, how do you actually say that out loud is weighing the two actions. But it's true that that's how some people view things, that they're not willing to take the risk for that person simply because they're not perfect, or simply because they're not attracted to them, or simply because they don't care about them. And so that's why this question continues to get raised, is why as a community are we able to generate a care for some people or for some scenarios and not generate a care in others? And I don't have an answer for that, because it doesn't make sense to me how we make those decisions. And I don't know that it's a gender thing. I mean, there's videos. There was an incident in New York a couple years ago where it's like the Afro Latinos were fighting, and some kid got killed with a machete, and there was people were taking video of it while it happened. And so, you know, part of you thinks, well, they didn't intervene because there was a machete, but I'm also like, I don't even know that I would have thought that I wasn't next if they're willing to kill somebody in broad daylight with a machete on video and they know you're filming. Like, does that make, are you safe there either? Like, why not just leave if you're not going to help? So that, I think that the clout chasing part of the culture, the part of the culture where you just are present for something but not participating, has become sort of the new default action. I think that the idea that you participate in things actively, whether it's to stop it or start it, I think that that's kind of dead. I don't think that that's a gender dynamic. I think it's a cultural dynamic.
Yeah, yeah, well said. I think a lot of things can be true at the same time without you drawing a conclusion just ultimately on any of those truths. You understand what I'm saying? I also think it's a demographic thing. I think in some places that, like what Bobby's talking about, I think the culture of intervening may be stronger. And I think the bigger the city you get, you might be, I don't know. There might be a chance that you're less likely to jump in. I don't know. I don't know. But I also think that I don't think it should be an Olympic, contest. Like, I think that we should make aware the power dynamics and the difference in response that Black men and women get, and people based on their social economic background, the level like of attention they get when they're being wronged. I think we should document that and take account, but I just don't think that we should get into like keeping score. And what I mean by that is, like, depending on your timeline and how it's, the algorithms are set up, you can see a lot of Black women that'll be like, I'm not I'm done defending these Black men who are getting hurt by police officers and even killed when they have a huge domestic violence record against Black women and children. I see that a lot on my timeline. I don't know how the algorithms are set up on my timeline. I'm seeing that a lot, and I kind of get it. But for me, it's just like the energy behind it. Like, I don't think we're in a situation where we have the privilege to pick and choose when we're going to do something. I think we're in a situation of how we're going to do it. Like, how are we going to support? But it should never be a question of not helping another Black person. It should be, how are we going to help them?
But okay, so I guess I would like to differentiate between movements and direct action in the moment.
Right.
Because the women who are saying that, I understand why they're saying it, but it is not as if we have a plethora of videos. And I'm not saying this as a counter argument, but I'm just saying there is not a plethora of videos of police officers about to kill a Black man and then a Black woman comes running in and takes the bullet. That's not what we're talking about. But we're comparing that right now to somebody literally engaging in a physical contest where someone has a brick in their hand. And I think that comparison is bad. And I think that it does a disservice to everybody involved. Because I think that
there's a difference between civilians and law enforcement too. I just want to say that real quick.
Oh, absolutely. But that's another reason why it's
a lot of Black people are not getting involved if law enforcement are going up against our head.
Sure, but that's another bad comparison that does a disservice, that creates a debate that doesn't necessarily need to exist. Like, I don't expect any Black woman or otherwise, they, them, anybody to jump in if they're going to have the potential of physical harm. But do I think that they can jump on the hashtag afterwards? Because that's a different thing. And I think that when people are saying they're not going to jump on the hashtag because of this systemic ill or this statistical issue that's happening in our community, because like domestic violence is a problem, but not just in our community, but in all. And they say, well, because 66% of the time, you know, this thing happens in our community, I'm not going to support this third person out there who I don't know whether they're a part of that problem. Like, there's so much dissonance there. It doesn't even make sense to me. I think that people sometimes are just looking for an excuse not to do something, or they've experienced enough trauma from a situation and they're just ready to move on from it. And that's fine. But I think that those are terrible comparisons every time they come up.
Yeah, I've been in situations where I've seen people be victims of some violence, and I find it very, very hard for me not to help in some kind of way. Now, my response changes based on my street antennas. I remember one time I was in the South End, over by Rainier Beach, over by South Shore, Rainier Beach Community Center. And I seen this brother following this sister. They was probably like in their early 20s. And he like was taking her backpack. He took her backpack very violently off of her person and was like throwing it and cussing her out, FEO stuff, and this, that, and the third. And I was just like, I just kept watching to make sure that nothing happened. Then when they got a distance, she was just like, you know, it was bad, man. It was really sad, man. But I knew that if I knew he was on defense, man, and my street antennas is like, man, if you intervene, bro, you can escalate it. And if you intervene, she could get it worse later. You know what I'm saying? He could transfer all that anger to her later when you're not around. So I did want to watch to make sure he wasn't just going to, you know, beat her up, but he was very violent and intimidating and terrorized her, you know, her personal possessions. And then I let him get a distance, and then he went his way and she went a different way. Then I, you know, saw her and I was like, hey man, come over to the school real quick, you know? So she came over to school and I went in there. I asked her how she was doing. And then I went to the main office, got some office personnel, and was like, man, you know, I just now witness her, you know, just get terrorized and get intimidated and bullied by this man. And of course, she didn't really want to say nothing. She, you know, that's the other part too. You out here risking your life, knowing damn well they probably gonna be with this guy the next day, and they're not gonna want to do anything. That's a part of the trauma. So I had to walk away and take that one on the chin, man. And just like, okay, they called the police. She had help. I made sure I went and specifically got another Black woman so she could feel comfortable. Last thing she probably wanted to be around was another Black man after that. I get it. And I left. And then I'm not even gonna lie, I wanted to have a community forum on it. This was like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. So I posted it on my page, and you should have heard some of the comments. Bobby and Precious. Oh my God. Some of these people were letting me have it. Why didn't you help? That's the reason why I did it. I did help. I did. Then some people were like, I don't blame you, dude. That's a tough one. You know what I'm saying? For all the reasons why I said. And then we did actually have some Black women who are educated in domestic violence, as so am I, and basically echoed the same thing I said. It's like, you probably did the right thing, Logic, because you didn't, chances are she's going to go back to him. And also, you didn't want him to take all that frustration out on her, you know. So it's a tough one, man. If the participants are younger, like in their teens, oh yeah, I'm all in. Then I'm all in. I've seen same area. I'm making Seattle really look bad right now. Same area, bro, within the block on Henderson. Precious Bobby know where I'm talking about, by the old SARS, across the street from Rainier Beach. There was a young sister getting jumped by like 3 other kids. She might have been like Filipino or something. Yeah, she was getting jumped. They took her bike and knocked her off her bike. Man, I put that car in park up down. I said, man, what are you guys doing? And they ran. And I helped her, and called for help and everything. I jumped out of my car and broken up full-on fights. And they'd be like, oh, uncle's coming, watch out, If it's young folks, you know what I'm saying? But adults, man, it's tough. It's tough, So, but my thing is, what do y'all think about people saying that she was lying? And then what do you think about the response? What should our response be as a community if we do find out that people are lying about this stuff and they're just trying to get attention, or they're just trying to get money, you know what I'm saying, on some GoFundMe hustling? You know what I mean? Should we change our response to when people get victimized? And if so, how? How should we change our response? Precious, you ain't said nothing for a minute. What you think?
Well, I was sitting listening to your stories. So I just got really deep in it, just listen deep in. But honestly, when it comes to stuff like that, it's pretty kind of no different than how we respond to things, even in our own life. It's better safe than sorry. Check to see what's going on, and verify if this threat is true threat, and the steps we need to take for it. And of course, if it turned out there is some fabrication going on, there's something that's not true, then you probably need to question why are you going up this way to make this lie? Like, what was actually the game? Like, what is your end goal if this is not true? What were you trying to get? And I think from those experiences, you start to find the signs. May not be foolproof, but you start to see the signs of somebody. Okay, this is a real situation. We know what we need to do, and compared to somebody like, you know what, there's something real fishy about this. Now, they probably did thought that about this particular woman because I guess she's known for making skits or whatever. But unfortunately, for what I hear, she did prove evidence or receipts of that. And hell, we in a world of social media, people can find out the truth about something in 5.3 seconds. Shit, you should be able to know if there's something if there's a tall tale that this person is saying, or these are the real. This is the real deal. But the thing is, when we find out it's the real deal, we have to learn to drop the false bias that we had prior. Because it seems like even when we do know the truth, I still think this be lying. I still think there's some false tale because some people just don't want to believe it. Kind of like with the don't want to bring him up, but old dude that got, what's that guy? Tory Lane. Yeah. Kind of like with him. Even though with all that happened, people still like, I still think Megan lying her fucking ass off. Even when the receipts was already there, some people are still in disbelief because they just simply don't want to believe Megan at all, and it could be because of the type of woman they perceive her to be. So So the thing is, we have to learn to take the biasness out of stuff and look at exactly for what it is. But I think our community don't know how to do that, and I'm going to go ahead and say I think we're choosing not to do that.
My thing is, what's the point of believing her? What's the point of it being true or not if the response is gonna be the same? You ain't gonna do nothing.
I mean, there's that too.
I mean, you're not
There's
gonna
that
do
too.
nothing. I mean, and most times, too many times, I should say, not most times, too many times, because two is too many. You're going out of your way to have a reason not to do something. Oh man, she probably lying.
Yeah, there's that too. Some people just they complain about the issue to what's going on, but they don't want to take even the smallest steps to try to make it better. And some
Mm-hmm.
people don't want to come. I hate to say that. Some people just don't want to admit you're scared. You're scared, and that's okay to be scared. You're human. You're going to be scared. It's okay to have a little fear when it comes to a situation that could endanger your life. But if you don't want to, quote unquote, endanger your life, find other undanger or less dangerous ways to resolve the issue. Like I think I talked about it early this year or last year when I had to call the authority because my neighbor was getting her ass whooped by her man. I never seen these people before. I don't know if they look like if I walk by them, but I know this woman's getting towed up because I hear the shit going down in my bedroom because I think that the walls are thin, so I can hear everything. I said I don't know who this woman is, but I'll at least try to do something to help her. I'm gonna try to do something because damn it, I wish somebody would call the police if I'm getting my ass whooped.
Yeah,
Please call the police if I'm getting my ass whooped.
I was in a situation too. You know, I was young, probably 19, and all my pro-blackness. And I had a white neighbor upstairs, and she was in a relationship with a black man, and they had a child together.
I think you talked about that on the post, but go ahead.
Yeah, and this guy used to, man, he used to get busy, man. I mean, it sounded like a full-on USC fight up there, man. He had her touching everything in the dang house, man. In the heart,
Yeah.
man, it was bad. And I was so in my pro-blackness, I was so torn because I'm like, it took me the longest to finally call the police because I will like didn't want another situation with another black man, you know, in the system. And I felt like I betrayed him. However, I was able to synthesize it like what kind of person am I for the liberation and the safety of people if I just let anyone be treated any kind of way, you know, and I empathize with that, even though it was a white woman and she had more privilege than me. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have a relationship with her. But I just grew to just be very resentful towards him. And I had to unpack that. I think I was, to be honest with you, I was resentful towards him because he was with a white woman. I felt like he, you know, was lowering his standards. And then to beat on one, my emotions was all over the place. I'm gonna keep it real with you. I'm not saying I was perfect in how I felt. I'm not even saying it made sense. Y'all can have your opinions about how I unpack that. And I think that led to the reason why I called the police in my younger age at 19, 20. I'm gonna call the police on you because you shouldn't be with this white woman, no ways.
But you also gotta look at it like this. If it wasn't gonna be a white woman, it could have been a black woman.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why
That's true.
I kind of have
And here's the
I unpack that too.
This is how I
Yeah.
intellectually unpacked, and this is when I with the children's mother at the time, we sat and we talked about it. And I think she was a big influence too on me. Like, Logic, you got to call somebody. You know, you got to do something because you know. Okay, now it's all coming back to me. You know what I did first? At first, I knocked on the door at least twice. I did, man. I know, Bobby. I know. I knocked on the door and I was
What
like,
you
"Hey,
say,
man, you know,
Bobby? What you
look."
say?
I said, and she answered the door, and I kind of did the whole salesman thing. Kind of looked over her shoulder. I said, "Y'all good?" And I framed it like, "Y'all are hella loud. Are y'all good?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, we're good." It's like I think I did it twice, and then I called the police. But um, the way I also unpacked it too, and I intellectualized it. It's a word now. Is that I need to get this brother some help and get him out of this situation. I need to get him away from this white woman. Hey, I was 19, 20. But anyways, Bobby, you wanna finish up this topic so we can get to our major topic because
I mean, I had that conversation with a 40-year-old woman. To me, it's a disease. To be so invested in the identity politics of a situation that you can't deal with what you're looking at. Like, that's a weakness. I had a mother who had a daughter who was 17 years old, and she was dating I just call them my defendants because that's what they are. One of the defendants that I'm responsible for, and he's beating her up. And I just point blank asked her one time, why are you unwilling to do the right thing for your daughter? Because you're so wrapped up in don't want to see another black man in the system, blah, blah, blah. I said, but you want to see your kid in the coffin. So you can choose. We can have black man in the system. We can have your kid in the coffin. You pick. And I just thought that ultimately that was a loyalty to an idea that had no real consequences for her other than the fact that she could feel good. And I think that sometimes we get wrapped up in this idea of feeling like we play for a team to the extent that we're going to ignore the facts. And that's what that was. And I called it like I saw it. And I just told her, like, okay, well, what I don't want to do is be getting a call from you 6 months from now when this individual kills your daughter or another woman. Because when that happens, I'm not really going to be feeling like you didn't know better. But that's a choice you get to make because you're a witness to a crime. Either you're going to talk about it or you're not. But she got to say that she didn't participate in the system, and that's the big victory apparently. So I see people like that, and I'll always say the same thing. We should respond to every scenario the same way. Put the facts first, find out what actually happened, then make a decision, then involve your emotions all the way at the end when you know. But until you know, you're wasting your time and you're wasting your emotional energy on something that all you can do is reach a point of prejudice because that's what's leading you at that point. So I would always caution people to lead with the facts.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Let's. I feel like Bobby picked a fight with you today, Precious.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. That's why I said what I said. You know why? You know why it's a difference. You know that I don't know why you coming and playing dance for Bobby. You smart as hell and you a nerd to play dance in the text message. You know I could send this message. I'm gonna tell you this on the damn show. I'm gonna say it on the damn show.
Bobby, you want me to introduce how you picked the fight with Precious, or do you want to do it?
No, I can do it. It's fine.
Yeah,
Precious
go ahead.
Precious had a post a couple, I want to say last week.
Yeah, they were last week.
It was last week?
And they were last. What did they? Hold on. What's today? Saturday. It may have been this week.
Anyway, so I was watching Precious argue with another man out there in the world who was
my homie Jesse. Shout out to Jesse.
Who was saying like there was essentially a market, like an actual difference between, I don't even know how to say this girl's name, Jean or Janae Aiko, and Sexy Red. And for me, I was like, well, I know this much. I don't know anybody based on the character that Sexy Red is putting out there that's bringing her home to their mama. But I don't think that the same could be said for Jean or Janae. And then Precious said, but what about the groceries? And I was like, honestly, I didn't even think about that as something that was significant. I'm thinking about the character portrayal, not what she's saying. But Precious is gonna make her own argument. But basically, for me, I was just saying that subtlety and strategy matter to me, and I think that there's a lot of people out there who would say that the more you're putting out there, volume-wise, of your character, which I think is akin to a minstrel show, the less likely you are to be taken seriously outside of that character. And I think that Precious is going to make an argument about colorism, which is fine. But I
And
haven't
Bobby, stop. You can't do that.
seen
Objection.
anything.
Objection. Objection.
Sustained. But go ahead. I just want to hear it.
What's the objection, Logic? Before I go.
Objection is forecasting argument for the other person.
I always do that.
Don't
But
do
you know
that.
what? Let me tell you something.
Wait, before you start talking, hold on, Precious. I have to intro this because you're just dead wrong. When Janae Aiko, or you don't understand it. When she said eat the booty like groceries, that has a very significant pop appeal. I'm telling you. She shook the world when she said eat the booty like groceries. She shook the world with that, bro. That was pretty explicit.
That was a huge verse that people
Yeah,
stayed
man,
on.
I'm serious. That was
people been on that tip for a long time.
Yes.
That's why I find it so wild that here come the sexy red. And please know, Gino Aiko been out way longer than those two. Those two just came out probably last week. Last month. I probably learned about them last month or month before. I just learned about these ladies. I had never heard of them before. So I find it interesting that someone like a Gino Aiko can make those type of songs. I'm talking about in terms of artistry. But hell, if you want to talk about personal life, hell, Gino Aiko having kids all over the place. The Sexy Red, she ain't got none. But that's a different question. That's a different thing. Different question, because let's not act like people wasn't judging Keke Palmer when she had her kid. But again, we're gonna talk about that's another conversation. But the point is, I'm talking about in terms of artistry. Like they singing the same type of music. They both sexually explicit in their stuff. Yes, I never heard of any sexual red music, but based on what people are saying, it's raunchy, it's out there, it's in your face, controversial. Okay, cool. Ain't nothing we ain't seen in our years on this earth. Ain't nothing new. Gina Aiko, she got acquired a voice or whatever, but she's singing about the same shit. So when I hear people say, "Oh, I'm this type of shit, not this," well, newsflash, you the same person. Just a different packaging, but it's the same shit inside the box. It's just like they both work at the bank. Just ready to did a held up. She got the gun, she got the mask on, set it off style, shooting up the place or whatever. But Gina Aiko in the back, still transferring money from people's bank to her on her own bank account. It's the same logic. While her approach may be different, a little more slicker, it's not in your face. Nobody didn't get hurt or anything or traumatized by it. Nonetheless, people still got robbed. The bank still got robbed. So this is why I say I didn't think of it a colorist mindset, Bobby, until somebody actually did a video on it. It didn't dawn on me, but I'm like, you know what? You're probably right, because we do talk about Suki Yana Sage who are dark skinned, but we don't say nothing about Lado, whatever her name is, Lotto. You say nothing about Lotto. You say nothing about Ice Spice. You say nothing about Cardi B. Although Cardi B they talked about, but most people now they talk more about her situated with Offset more than anything. But even with
they be on Cardi's head, man.
They be on her head, but who you think to be on her head more between her or Megan?
I don't know, man. That's a tough one. That's
a tough one.
Because they bring up Cardi and how she used to drug people and how Cardi used to get back at dudes and hooking them up with trans women to get back at them. Yeah, and Cardi's business is pretty out there.
Yeah, pretty out there. But when it comes to the whole respectability positive thing, I noticed that those two ladies tend to get the harsher, they tend to get the worst treatment. They're not to say the other they don't get something, but I've been noticing they've been stuck on these particular two, and I'm trying to think why y'all so harp on these mid 25-year-old who just making music to capitalize off of. And I know go ahead.
Yeah. I would say this. First of all, I would dare to say Janae Aiko's lyrics in that song, she was already kind of big. I mean, she was kind of at that mid-level, but I feel like when she came out with that song, it definitely put her on a higher level.
Yeah.
I will say that. And to your argument, when she had that lyric, it put her on to a higher level without any shade attached to her name. I don't think at all. I don't think anyone looked at her any different, because like I said offline, it's almost by looking at Janae Aiko, we think that her boo-boo tastes better than Sexy Red, even though they're saying the same thing.
Yeah. That's what I say.
Like she's cleaner, and like it goes into some like stereotypes and some pseudosciences that people that look like Janae Aiko taste better and they're cleaner and they don't have as many diseases or whatever. We have all the
Yeah, more than likely, yeah.
but I will say this. In defense of Bobby's argument, I feel like I'm playing the father between two young folks or the judge. I feel like Judge Mathis. Janae Aiko.
You gotta say crackhead at least one time. There it is.
Crackhead.
While we know both Janae Aiko and Sexy Red could be crackheads, but listen, there you got it. I will say this in Bobby's defense: Janae Aiko's brand is not based on explicit lyrics such as that. It isn't. I think, and it might be the reason why she got a little bit of a acceleration and a little bit exalted a little bit more, because now she's like, oh, she got a little bit of edge to her now.
But this is my thing. Aiko's has a different sin. Okay, like when me and my homies talk about this, we talk about how one thing we dislike is when artists use Black culture to graduate from it, and then never return. So like Jean Aiko's pop artist, R&B artist, she gets on a hip hop song, drops that line, and I know it was culturally significant, but it's not her entire brand. And she was able to drop that line and then return right to being soft R&B soulful artist. And that's probably because of her racism. But nonetheless, that is the difference in them in terms of public perception. And so you can make the argument that racism is why their public perception is different. But I actually think that Aiko is more guilty of using rap, using hip hop culture that allows you to be real and allows you to be raunchy with a past to do so, because it's normal and accepted in that small demographic. And then once you hit stardom, leave it behind, never go back. Because it's not like she has this long catalog of songs, or at least that I'm aware of, that are popular, that are on that tip.
Yeah.
But all of Red's content is the same. It's all the same, and it's all about that.
I don't even know if she even has a full album out yet. Maybe that might be part of the
2 or 3 songs, maybe 2 or 3.
I don't think Sexy Red music.
She's definitely a product of the modern day streaming culture, where you can get away with coming out with a song like almost quarterly. Just make sure that your streams are up and get those ad dollars, and then you can get ad dollars built around your brand from just posting and saying significant stuff, being on people's podcasts. Bobby talked about interviews and things of that nature. It really would be good if I kind of want us to go back and do our homework and listen to both their music, because I think the deciding factor would be who's the more talented artist. Seriously, because I'm on the fringes with, or the peripheral of, Janae Aiko. I've listened to enough of her music, and it all sounds the same. It does. It all sounds the same. It's not bad. It's what I call chore music, though. It's something you do your chores to. It's soothing. It's cool. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's background music. I could see it definitely being played in the elevator. I'll be on hold with Sally Mae, or Verizon, or Honda.
Wake up.
Yeah, and they're playing Janae Aiko in the background just to keep me, preoccupied. She's not all that impressive singer at all. Yeah, she's not.
Sing.
You said what?
But she can sing.
And Sexy Red can rap.
Yes.
She definitely rhymes words.
They both do that, though.
I mean, I guess if you call that singing, I don't care for her style of singing, so I can't. I haven't heard of any Sexy Red music. I haven't heard of her also, Kiana Realness. I never heard
Yeah,
it.
she doesn't really have that many songs.
I never heard. I heard she been doing videos or whatever, making music for the last 5-6 years. I heard people talking about it on TikTok. I never personally. I have to understand.
Hold on. I think she just now came out with a new album, and she did the whole Little Kim thing. See that? She did the whole Little Kim thing once again. You know how they sit and
Legends.
she got standing with her legs open, and she got the parental advisory on her yoni section.
Oh, okay.
She got an album with about 11 songs. The name of the album is Hood Hottest Princess. Songs include I'm the Shit, Ski Yee, Hellcats SRTs, Pound Town 2, featuring Nicki Minaj and Tay Keith, Looking for the Hoes, Sexy Walk, Strictly for the Strippers, featuring Juicy J and ATL Jacob, Nachos, Mad at Me, Born by the River, and Female Gucci Mane. I guess I will be listening to that later. Oh, she also has another album, Ghetto Superstar.
Oh,
has 8 songs on it. Yeah.
Okay.
So Bobby made an interesting comment though offline that I would like to share. Bobby said that he's not introducing Sexy Red to his parents, but he's introducing Jhené Aiko.
They're not gonna meet either one, but I was saying that the characters that they play, only one of them is gonna fly, and I just know that. And I think that everybody is strategic in who they're willing to bring in versus who they're willing to spend time with, which is a topic that comes up on these dating shows that I don't watch because I don't care what anybody else does. But we talk about like people you would take seriously. I would never take someone seriously that's putting that character out there all the time. I just don't care for that on a personal level. And then someone will say that's respectability, and I'll say no, that's what I want to do.
Yeah. So yeah, that's not respectability.
No.
Respectability is when you treat Sexy Red worse than you treat Jhené Aiko based on how she carries herself, and she has done nothing wrong other than fog up a mirror.
I mean, I don't know either one of these people. Like,
no, I know we're acting like you do know because there are people in our community that we have Jhené Aikos and Sexy Reds in our community.
Oh,
yeah, I'm not treating the Sexy Reds in my community worse than I do a Jhené Aiko just based on what they say or how they dressed. I'm personally not going to do it.
Oh no, I mean you don't have to have the same kinds of relationships with everybody, right? So you could treat everybody the best that you can within their role, and that's all we would ever advocate for in any way. I mean, I knew people who were provocative, and they were provocative in everything that they did, and those were people that I didn't take seriously as romantic partners potentially at all. But I didn't not speak with them. I didn't say to myself, I'm better. I just said those are not people that I would want to be partners with.
Well, and I think that Precious made a very salient point offline. She said something to the nature, I mean, you can correct me if I'm incorrect. It all comes down to how they act in front of your parents.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because I've done quite a few dating, dating, since, I've been single for the last 11 years. And I've seen women that look like, dress like, carry themselves like Jhené Aiko that are not attractive to me they're attractive like aesthetically and physically, but on the intellectual level, no. Nah. And to be honest with you, I like women and just people in general who are who are like Sexy Red, like who aren't trying to like always be like in a box. And, as long as it's, like I said, I've said this before. I think I said this last time we were on with Precious, as long as they're safe, you know what I'm saying? And, not doing anything unhealthy or something, I'm cool with a Sexy Red. I didn't hang around brothers like that. Like that would be a huge contradiction if I'd be like, I ain't messing with no Sexy Red when I'd have been around gang members and drug dealers and pimps and straight up killers. For real. but they wasn't doing that around me. As soon as they start banging, hey man, I'm out, bro. You just now threw up. You just
Time
now
to
threw a
go.
BGD. There's a whole bunch of bloods over there. This is not. Hey man, it's been really great, man. I'm out.
Yeah,
You know
see
what
you
I'm
there.
saying?
Holla at me when you get home, man.
Absolutely. I'm good.
Exactly.
I'm good.
Exactly.
You got this. You got jumped in for a reason. I didn't. You got your black rag in the right pocket for a reason. I do not have a rag. I am not certified. You're strapped. I'm not.
I have a question. So here, this came up when I was in my early 20s. So I had got invited to speak at some sort of thing, just something that would have happened. And at the time, I was dating a young woman who was probably closer to Red than Aiko in our example. And she had showed up to this event, and she smelled like marijuana.
She smelled like marijuana.
Yeah, and I'm like, I was like, look, I'm in a formal setting right now. Like, that's embarrassing to me. Like, I don't need that. I don't need that. That doesn't match this place that we're in.
Right.
And you could do that at any other time where it's not disrupting what we're trying to do here. And that's what I'm saying. Like, not everybody's for every place. And I feel like sometimes people are trying to open this argument where they say everything has to be acceptable everywhere. And I just never really expected that.
No, but I think the point I'm making, at least, is that Sexy Red is an entertainer. Her, that's her niche. That's her, what they call her gimmick. That's her thing. So it's not my space for me to judge her or who she is based on the persona she created for her profession. Now, if she's some girl or whatever I knew personally or whatnot, and she's doing some crazy stuff, that's one thing. But again, this is a girl who's in the entertainment industry in her mid-20s. And she like 24, 25 years old, girl young. So I don't know. But the point I'm trying to get at is she's not in that space for me to expect her to behave a certain way. What's she doing that shit at? That's the right spot for that. Like that's like, wow. That's why I find it crazy why I see people complain about how women dress when they go to the club. Well, what the fuck you expect them to wear? Like that's the spot for that type of attire. So
I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that in a while though. People criticizing people how
people, they bring it every so often. But I'm just using that as an example. It's a crazy example. Like, what do you expect them to wear? A pantsuit? I mean, you kill with a nice little V cut in it. You know, if you really want to get real sexy with it, that could definitely work. But the point is that there's a time and place for everything, and the shit that Sexy Red does, it's the time and place for it. It's the time and place for it.
Yeah, but
so that's why I can't get mad or feel any kind of way or have any vitriol towards those ladies for what they do, because they're at the time and the place for that. Now, if they come into, let's say, what's a little crazy place? Now, if they're doing that mess like at a church or something, I didn't want to say church. I don't go to church. I don't know. Let's go to a place where that type of behavior, you can't do that at, and they do the opposite. And they do it there.
School.
Okay, let's say school. Okay, to do that, okay, maybe this ain't the spot for that. Ain't nothing wrong with you, just don't do it here. But once school is over, whatever, let's act up.
That's fascinating. I agree with you, actually. I mean, I agree with you on mostly everything that you said.
Hold on, y'all.
What is that?
My hair is bothering me.
I was thinking my kid was doing that. I agree with everything that she said. I just think that when we talk about the context of what people will do in their personal lives, we are talking about whether they would do things that work in that space in our personal lives, whether they would have the discretion to do the right things in the right places. And that's a trust issue that I think I developed that on a personal level because I did oftentimes associate with folks who would just express themselves however they wanted, because like Logic, I valued that at one point. But then I found out that it becomes challenging because when you reward people for that, then it's really hard to also say, but not here. And that's really uncomfortable. That's uncomfortable for everybody. So I think that what you're talking about, Precious, is almost like criticizing how this person is making a living. And I've been on the show 100 times and said that as much as I hate power, I'm mad at the system that creates only opportunities for Black actors to be on power. And you have the same conversation now with female artists. Like they're not making a lane for Lauryn Hill 2.0. They're making a lane for the next Sexy Red. Like that's what they're doing.
Oh, look at Bobby with his pivot and
No, we
transition
actually talked.
skills.
Me and Bobby actually talked about this. I'm not
No,
sure.
I'm saying he what he just now did. He tried to he successfully pivoted. He said that the industry and the entertainment business is not trying to make a Lauren 2.0, which goes right into is does the entertainment business or industry doing an effective job and making us be ratchet?
The question here's the question, right? Why the rap industry is not open for another Lauren? Is it because they don't think there's any money in it?
Okay, so that's the question. This is chicken or the egg, right? Because when we were offline, your Precious, you had just said like, why do we think that there's anybody that's a greater influence on children?
Well, that question still stands too.
Right. But then I'm saying, I think that the problem for people like you and me specifically, and Logic as well, is we're coming from situations with parents. And I just don't know. I think that we oftentimes say this is just entertainment. Like this is an entertainment thing. We should never take this more seriously than that.
Yeah, because parenting and a good education is a privilege.
But there's people who are not taking this entertainment as entertainment. They're taking it as education. And that's where I think, I don't like the word ratchet because it's loaded, but that's why it's there. But it's like, of course, there's a segment of the industry that does have a goal, in my opinion, to, I'm going to just say, dumb us down or make us less intelligent or less marketable in the world. I guess that's what I'll say. To make us less able to work in our economy. I believe that. I absolutely believe that. And I think that affects certain Black people more than others, particularly ones with less privilege? Yeah. And then do I think that the people with less privilege are less likely to believe that music is entertainment because they also see things like what's mentioned in the music? Yeah. So I think that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, or almost like a tire that keeps spinning, or the hamster on the wheel. Like we don't know where it started, but we know it's rolling.
Yeah, I think that's a valid breakdown. I do, I would say that, to add on to what you said, I don't think that the industry is effective at making us ratchet. I think it's the conditions out there that perpetuate that. And I think the music comes in and the entertainment comes in after the conditions have been set. The cycle of unhealthy choices has already been set. And then music, no pun intended, becomes the soundtrack for it. You know what I'm saying? Because I always ask people like, okay, if that's the case, then what kind of music was they playing back when we were in the field and in the house? I mean, it's the conditions. And then we start making music based on the condition that we're in, because we were doing a lot of Negro spirituals and stuff. Taking like our situation, taking Christianity and creating like alternative, interpretations of the word. And they started to mean something else to really express our conditions and the mindset they were in. And that's why, rappers like Fresh Prince and De La Soul, you can tell the conditions that they came from, because it's categorically different than a Wu-Tang. Even though they grew up on the island in New York, Fresh Prince is categorically different than a Beanie Siegel, even though they both grew up in Philadelphia. It's like there's something there to why he was talking about parents just don't understand, and Beanie Siegel's talking about drug use and selling, because their conditions were different. Their family dynamics, like Bobby said, were different. So that's how I see it. I don't think the industry makes us ratchet. I think it just provides a soundtrack, to keep us in a place that we're already in. Is there a small demographic and collection and tribe of people who are perfectly fine until they listen to a hip hop album with violent and sexual lyrics, and they automatically become the characters that they're listening to? Sure. Bobby was a virgin until he listened to NWA. Sure.
But you know what, Lord, I go back to the question me and you had on the phone that time. When I talk about how influential music really is. And I remember I said, yeah, music can be influential, but if it's innately influential, why we still got issues in the church?
Yeah, that was a great point.
Because gospel music always talking about peace and love and God, but we still got the crazy ass shit going on in the church. How you explain that shit?
That's a good point. Hey, man. That was one of the dopest points you've ever made. I'm gonna start using that, man.
The thoughts that go to my brain when I'm taking a shower, the thoughts and conversations I have with myself that I question. See, that's why I said I'm the realest nigga I know. That's why I talk to myself a lot. Because I'm the realest one I know. And I say, hey, P, you right. That's a hell of a question. And I got the shower. I'm the realest one I know. I am the realest person I know.
Oh my goodness. Oh my God, man.
But yeah, and I'm saying entertainment don't have no influence at all. No, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is the parental influence and influence that children get exposed to when they in school, when they playing outside, how just have a stronger impact because it's in their face a lot more than watching ratchet TV or ratchet music, whatever. And speaking of which, if you're talking about it, can you name me some artists or shows that kids can watch that is not ratchet that you find positive and uplifting?
Yeah. Why isn't there?
I don't know. Y'all tell people in the audience. Y'all tell me if y'all feel ratchet is taking up everything. What is the positive one that you do know of? That you
okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I'm a little bit out of touch, but I'm sure that there's definitely a kid.
Out there. I'm out of touch too because
I mean, like Joey Badass is a conscious artist, but he's more of an actor now than he is a musician. And I think that for our conscious artists, we oftentimes they end up turning to other avenues for entertainment because it doesn't sell the same way. I mean, I guess my pushback comment would be that Meek Mill was talking about how the reason why he does so much public speaking is because he feels like it balances out the evil that he puts into the world in his music. And he actually said that.
That's powerful.
Clyde said something very similar too.
That's powerful.
And that suggests that we're wrong. That suggests that
no,
or that they're overestimating, or that maybe we're not wrong, but like as logic would say, that's one way to look at it.
I also think it's because he might not be completely educated on the influence of his music and the dynamic that the conditions that his people are in play a role.
Even though he's from the same dynamic, the same conditions, even though he come out of the same conditions, you think that he's naive, basically?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. I think there's a strong possibility that he has been conditioned to think that him rapping on an album about drugs is as influential as the government allowing certain laws and conditions for his people to be oppressed.
Precious had her hand up. I want to hear this.
Well,
I thought your hand go up. What were you about to say?
No, I pressed the chat button because I saw like the thing that pressed there. But I was thinking of something. You know, the people who want to balance it out, do you think it because those particular artists were doing things they probably didn't want to do to begin with? Or start rapping about stuff or music they probably never resonate with to begin with? Or probably never came from that lifestyle background to begin with, but they did it to make the money?
Yeah.
Nicki
Minaj.
No shade.
No shade. Do you think 50 Cent feels sorry for the shit of saying that he rapped about?
No.
Absolutely not. Because he lived that life. He know what that life is about. He actually lived it. That's just of his essence.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why I be wondering when I hear artists who do that, I be wondering, is it because you were faking the whole time? That really wasn't your life, but you did it because that's what made the money. That's what paid the bills. And now there's a bit of regret. Because while you may have capitalized and made the money off of it, you look at that, man, I made some shit that I probably shouldn't have made. Like, I probably should have never made that song or pushed this song.
I think regret is the wrong word. Why would someone regret making music with a certain content when they didn't have the experience to create an alternative, content based for their music.
or maybe
Like,
they
why would he
self-reflect.
regret? Yeah, he can't regret the card that he was given to him because he didn't have no choice over that. He rapped about what he knew about. Now, as he's gotten older and more mature and more educated, he has a variety of moves that he makes. He stopped selling drugs. I think that's an upgrade. I'd rather him be making power and movies and a whole marketing scheme that perpetuates stereotypes of black people than him actually out there doing the dirt.
Oh, I want to talk about 50 Cent. I'm talking about the other fellas y'all were talking about a little earlier. The one that Bobby mentioned. I'm talking about 50. Who?
Meek Mill.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm talking about the Meek Mill, the people who thinks like that or feel the same way. 50 cents. Nah, those. How did that have any regrets of any of that? Nah, I ain't talking about. I ain't trying to be shady, but I'm pretty sure they don't regret anything. I'm talking about those who were making music on a life they never lived or probably never came from that background.
I think 50 is a perfect example of like not a person. I don't think his life is indicative of a person that has no regrets. I think it's indicative of a person who had the opportunities to do something else with his intelligence and his skill.
Yeah.
Like, and I think the industry knows that. If they are given an opportunity to do something healthy, the majority of our people would do it. You think we want to do that? You think we want to sell our bodies?
Well, that's what the movie was about that we talked about last time we were together. That was the movie about Tyrone. That's what that's about. Are people just resigned to the fact that this is what we do, or are these conscious decisions? And
because our quality of choices, you can see this goes back to the Kanye quote. Our quality of choices aren't
slavery.
It ain't very good. It's so easy to say everyone has a choice. You know what I'm saying? When your choices are like 2 or 3, when other people have like a dozen.
Okay, so that's interesting because I actually appreciate that 50's not trying to turn a new leaf in the way that like Meek Mill is, because I actually think that if 50 Cent were to do that, he would be used as a he would be, I don't want to say turn Martin Luther King into a verb, but the same way that white people use Martin Luther King, then Curtis Jackson could be that too. When Curtis Jackson is actually like uber talented and not the average, he's the exception. Or maybe he's not the exception, but he's certainly not a run-of-the-mill person in his position. And we use people sometimes who make it out of a bad situation, and then we say, see, you could have done what he did. And it's like, no, not everybody can do what he did. So I actually appreciate that he's standing where he's standing in the space that he is, because
not everyone could do what he did, but a lot more of us could if they were given the same opportunities as him.
The percentages are skewed. The percentages are skewed because there could be more, but not all of them. And so there would still be people who are pigeonholed into not many choices.
Yeah. I wanted to make a comment about the Meek Mill. I think also sometimes we're able to articulate better than some of our other brothers and sisters. And I think also what he may have been trying to articulate is that the music I make is lacking commentary behind it. And I do so much public speaking to kind of balance and offset the unmitigated, commentary that my music does. My music only talks about one side, and the consequences, that come from it, like selling drugs, making a lot of money, being a capitalist, basically being a fiscal Republican, But then he goes around and he speaks and said, but there's another side that comes with that. Let me give you both sides. And I always wanted to be that artist, and like if I'm acting in a movie, like for instance, I'm in this movie called Fantasy A Gets a Mattress. You feel me? In the movie, I played the antagonist, the anti-hero. I'm running around and I'm literally bullying an autistic guy throughout the movie. Now, when I go to these screenings and they have a Q&A at the end, my commentary, I feel, and I appreciate that opportunity, gives it balance. I am not like that character. It's not cool to do. This is a satire. This is a comedy. And so I'm able to, and that's ideally how every artist should have it. If I'm, it's just so many opportunities are like Ice-T, talking about cop killer, but then he's playing cops in all these damn shows.
Every movie he been in, he play a fucking cop. Ain't that some oxymoron?
But that shows a level of sophistication on your part to understand that the perception of the character that you're creating is going to be extrapolated onto you. And that's that's what I was talking about earlier. Like someone who doesn't have the sophistication to realize I should break character right now because this is my opportunity to show I'm more than my character. Like that's not impressive to me. Like that.
But it's also the nuance that exists between hip hop and other artistic mediums. For whatever reason, and I think we know the reason why, hip hop artists aren't able to have that, artistic license as maybe a Denzel. We never ever think that Denzel has the same character, values as the character he played in Training Day. It's not even a question. He gets that artistic license to go back and forth. You know what I'm saying? He gets to kill people in his movies and then sit back in the interviews and be Denzel Washington and be like, and he gets praised for it. Sexy Red, other rappers, they're not allowed that leniency, that freedom to be like, oh, I just said that, man. I really ain't having no one eat my booty like groceries. Come on, man. That's just nasty. You can get E. coli that way. We're not doing that. We're just like thinking Sexy Red is nasty. And she feeds.
That's interesting because the rappers that can do it, they almost had to reach a certain status.
Like who? Give me an example.
Well, I think that one of the reasons why Drake has so many problems in hip hop culture is because there is no desire to continue the character. When he does interviews, he's interviewing as Aubrey Graham, and it's kind of funny because then they go, oh, he's soft, he's all this. I mean, there's people who do it. There's definitely artists that do it, but they're at the top.
That's because I think Aubrey's pretty much identical to Drake, though. I think they're pretty much the same person.
I mean, Sean Carter is also not. Sean Carter at this point and Jay-Z are two different individuals as well. And Tupac Shakur was two different individuals as well. So,
but he didn't get the artistic license either, though. They always said he was like old boy from Juice, like a character. He never got away from.
Yeah, he never got away. He never got away from that role. He never got out.
And he played into it, spitting on people. Leaving women in rooms. Leaving a woman in a room to get raped by the homeboys. It's like, yeah, man.
Didn't he shoot two cops and got away with it too?
Yeah, but that
self-defense, but
that dude a wow.
Yeah, that was good though, because he was helping another black person. That was good though. That was a good look.
Yeah.
I mean, he said that in his interviews that he was a bad drug dealer. That literally said he couldn't sell drugs because he was bad at it.
Yeah,
and he said that he was fine with the police until he started talking about it in his music, and then it was an issue for him. And then he got forced into this caricature, but that was not his original position at all.
Yeah,
that wasn't his original position at all. So I don't know. I think that.
So again, what is an industry plan? I've been hearing that terminology thrown around. What exactly that is? What exactly is an industry plan? What is that? I'm gonna Google that. What exactly?
I've never used that.
An industry.
Sexy Red.
People can make. I don't know if we have an official, like papers and receipts on an official industry plan, but we have some pretty good indicators that someone like Tekashi 6ix9ine was and is an industry plant. Meaning, whether he knew about it or not, they used him to perpetuate certain stereotypes, to get involved in certain things, to lure and entrap people. for the gain of, a certain image. Because when they go back and look at Tekashi 6ix9ine, I forget his real name. He was not like that at all. At all. And the argument is that, and the theory is that they give him a whole bunch of privilege. They give him a whole bunch of opportunity. They pad his stats with bots, with fake streams. They troll to his advantage, and they give him incentives. This is the same way you train an animal. This is just classic Pavlov and Skinner, making the dog salivate every time you ring the bell. So they start giving him incentives every time he does something, ignorant or negative. And he keeps doing it. And they keep giving him more incentive, more doggy treats, more money, more snacks. Until he's got tattoos all over his damn face. And he can't turn away from this brand and this form of marketing. And then he gets other people involved in that. This guy was literally calling hits on other rappers. Right? And having other people doing it. And then he turned around and told on the people that he told to do it. There couldn't be a bigger snitch. But I would say Tekashi 6ix9ine is probably your biggest example. Yeah, and I would argue that he didn't even know he was a plant. He probably thought everything was organic. Oh man, people really just digging my music. He probably didn't think anything was inflated. But I think that the industry does a lot of that. And I think it is done specifically to artists who have a closer proximity to whiteness. I think they did that with Eminem. There's a lot of talented rappers like Eminem, but there's a reason why he arguably has the best hip hop biopic film in the history of of music. I think there's a reason for that. I think they could have been done it for KRS-One. Would have been just as much of a compelling and interesting and dope story. Him being homeless, all the stuff that he did. They could have did one about Rakim. All these people, but they give it to Eminem. Tupac dies, and the person that they give all the production to is Eminem for his post-death album. They give it to Eminem. All these great producers, and you give it to Eminem. I think that's padding his stats just a bit. Just a tiny bit.
Street Plant is a music artist associated with the label, but appears as if they are independent and self-made, or an artist whose popularity is due to marketing efforts alone. Another definition is an artist who seemingly merges out of nowhere, gaining rapid fame and success while leaving many question the authenticity of the rise to stardom. So those are the three examples of what an industry plant is.
That would and Eminem and Tekashi 6ix9ine are great examples of both those, especially that coming out of nowhere type thing. Now, I'm not saying Eminem's not talented. Don't do that. I'm not saying he doesn't work hard. Actually, both those dudes, take away the talent, work hard. They both work hard. Eminem's a way more talented artist than Tekashi 6ix9ine. Don't get me wrong, but I think his work ethic and his talent go a lot further than a black person with the same work ethic and the same talent. Eminem, come on, man. Come on, man. Those are inflated stats. He ain't got cuts like that, man.
Eminem cinnamon.
I would say this. I feel a lot of Eminem work didn't age well. I feel a lot of his music. I sitting here looking back, like his first album and all that. I was like, you know what? Eminem was the original fuckboy. We didn't realize it.
Interesting.
He was the original fuckboy, and we didn't. He was the original fuck Dusty boy, and we didn't notice.
I think, yeah, you're onto something there. I think his music it wasn't really soulful. It's very mechanical. He's very mechanical. He's very talented. I'm gonna keep saying
talented.
that.
Like, he can rhyme some words.
He has influenced A lot of artists. That's a bad man. He is a bad man. You listen to, you talk to a lot of the people that they're like, oh man, you know, they're so dope. They're all, man, Eminem is their influence. Chance the Rappers, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, like all these great artists, they're saying Eminem was an influence. He's a bad man.
But to your point, it could have been MF Doom if they wanted it to be. It could have
absolutely
been. It could have
absolutely
been, it wasn't.
Absolutely.
That's what Lord Jamar is upset about.
I mean, I wasn't really a big MF Doom guy. I thought he was talented. He has, you know, he did have a classic album. I forget the name of it. I thought he was dope. And he has a history, you know what I'm saying? Because he goes back, he goes way back to like the early 90s. He was grinding for a long, long time. He was definitely slept on and underrated. But the industry could do it for anybody. They could do it for a Sexy Red. If they could do it for who else would be the equivalent? If they could do it for
they tried it with
it. If they could do it for the Baby, even though I think the Baby is a more talented rapper than Sexy Red, I actually think the Baby can rap his butt off.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
if they can do it for a Bootsy Badass.
Okay, so here's my question. Whenever you pick that person, whatever name you throw out there, you're basically saying that they're an employee of whatever this larger corporation that has its own goal. What do you think that goal? What is the goal? What is the goal of these overarching organizations that are able to push these careers and accelerate them?
I think the goal is to keep them dependent on industry money and not build any kind of autonomy.
But I'm saying what? So, because the larger question was about the impact of industry, and I'm saying, based on our conversation, we've kind of talked about how maybe the industry impact is a little bit overstated. But if they're spending all this money, does that suggest that the industry does not believe that their impact is overstated if they're willing to do this?
I think the industry knows, based on algorithms and their business patterns and fiscal, they have all the data, that if they keep investing in this brand, is definitely to their benefit.
So you don't think that it's about what you were saying earlier, which is that certain people are put in positions to push certain ideas because they're brands, like Tekashi 69, for example, which is a caricature. Like, it's the most ridiculous marketing scheme you could come up with. Like, he has the number 69 tattooed on his face. He has rainbow hair. Who is he being marketed for, though? That's what I'm saying. They're putting their money into a person to push an idea out,
to distract you from the people who are saying things that are more
intelligent,
healthy and intelligent. Yes, he's a distraction.
Right, but I'm saying that they must believe that that's effective. Even though we've been talking about this and we're saying, like, ultimately we got to believe that we as parents, we have more influence than any of this, but the industry obviously feels like it's worth the money to spend. That's the point that I'm making. They don't think that.
Oh yeah, there's no denying that. Did I say that? Did I ever come across or imply that they don't think it's effective?
I think I'm saying I just think we're understating. I think that we might be overstating the influence that we have over people directly and understating the influence that these industries have. And it's
no, I don't think the industry is creating more Tekashi 6ix9ines and more Sexy Reds. I don't think that. I think they're taking advantage of people who are already uneducated based on a flawed system. They're taking advantage of those people.
Okay.
They feed into a system to pump these people out on conveyor belts, and they sell them to us.
Right. Okay, we agree then. I was just trying to make sure that you weren't saying that they weren't doing that. And
they're definitely doing that. Okay. That's why, like I said it last time that Precious and I were on. That's why Seed Talk will never blow up and go viral unless we start doing some ratchet stuff. Bobby, if you show, hey, bro, you're probably one nipple away from us getting about 1,000 more views, bro. Take one for the team, bro.
I mean, that's the problem, though. It's like they're and
that right
unwilling.
there, and the fact that you had to say that, like, it's why I say we are being really disingenuous about what we do. We really care about the content or whatever that's out in entertainment, what it pertains to appealing to us and AKA the children. That's why I say we are really disingenuous. Because you're right. Unless we were doing something ratchet, we probably never got the attention we get. I mean, I'm pretty sure we get good attention, but again, people claim they want to see positive uplift and stuff, but deep down they don't, because they don't find it really entertaining.
That's a good. You know what? That's a good topic. That's almost like us making our boardroom, you know what I'm saying, visible to the public. Like if we were to have like, I want to have that talk, bro. You know, it's like I'd be like us just talking about, you know, do you think people really like what we're saying?
And probably if they don't. I'm gonna take that back. Some people,
you don't think so?
I think some people do like what we take.
I think they like it, but I'm trying to figure out what I'm trying to figure out, like, what's the catchy term? Like, what will be the catchy term? I know they like us, but do they love us? I know they love us, but do they like us enough to really, you know, support us in the manner they do like a Vlad TV?
Maybe we're good for the weekend, but not for the month. Like, you know, yeah, we're good for a one night stand.
I think we're the people that everyone wants to get married to, but you know, those other things are, you know, the side pieces. They're the fun. We're the Janae Eicos, man.
Are you sure we're not the side piece, Logic?
Nah, we're not the side piece.
Precious.
We're the boring marriage that people. We're the boring healthy marriage that people have.
But to Precious's point, maybe they don't want that, you know, and then it's a matter of what we're willing to discuss. I mean, there's 100 topics that come up and I'm just like, I will watch that, but I won't talk about it. Like, I just
like what? I think we talk about everything. We just talking about it in a different way.
No, like, for example, when there was C-Talk Late Night, there were topics that were real great for C-Talk Late Night that I would never actually talk about.
That's because, you know, you would get canceled.
I'm very cancelable. But I'm saying that I call tabloid material. Like, tabloid material is never something that we discussed on this show. But tabloid material is what sells. There's a reason why those things are on the stand.
You sure we don't talk about tabloid? I think this is honestly a tabloid.
We do.
Oh, like give me an example of a topic from what'd you say?
I was asking Precious if she thinks that we talk about tabloid topics or if we talk about things that are on the back page or in the newspaper, because the newspaper and the tabloids are not sold in the same place.
I don't know if we talk about tabloid per se, but I do think we talk about incidents or article that happens in social media, because that's kind of where most people get their news nowadays, is through social media, like the Shade Room or TMZ and vice versa. So I think, in sense, we do talk about, or at least we spin off of current events going on, whether in celebrity world or whatnot, but we always tend to phrase it to what it could be a positive outlet for. I think we go about things in a different approach, that it's a learning experience, or you can learn something new to it. We're not like other platforms that just want to be shady and want to be messy to be a fucking queen. I don't think we really out here doing that mess. I don't think that's our aim.
We're not a Hollywood Unplugged.
Well, perfect example. You remember the McDonald's thing that was on the Shade Room?
Yeah.
So we could have talked about the facts of that incident. We could have talked about whether the father should or shouldn't have brought McDonald's for that woman's kids. But that's not what we talked about. We talked about healthy relationships, and we talked about how this was a perfect example of why cloud chasing is problematic for our community, because look what types of things that we're putting out there as a representation of ourselves when it's probably not even real. Like, we had that discussion. We didn't actually sit there and talk about the dynamics of whether that man should have brought McDonald's for somebody else.
I think we did talk about it because if anything, we did talk about what Bobby talked. Bobby is correct. We did talk
We
about
definitely
that.
talked about
But I
that.
think we also went on about the feedback or the responses to the
The
video.
responses.
That's what we did say, because
Responses.
you made a post, Logic, and we saw all those men talking about, I want to fed them damn kids. And we like, damn, why the fuck you making the kids suffer? The fuck, the kid ain't did nothing to you. So we
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Like we could have been real messy about it.
Yeah.
But instead we talked about it at a communal level. Whereas I think if you're discussing the facts of this clout chasing ass incident, then that's what you used to say is the lowest level, the lowest hanging fruit. So
Yeah.
and I think people are looking for shock and awe. I think
yeah, and personally, I'm glad we don't go that route. Not because there's not necessarily something wrong with it. I feel like it's oversaturated at this point. I think everybody's doing it. Like I'm noticing now, and ain't no this to my friend. I know that y'all want to make posts just to be messy. Just to be messy. Like there's no end game, there's no lesson learned, there's nothing at the end. You just want to be messy, get your likes and views up. And I ain't mad at your hustle, go for it. But what exactly that's gonna, besides putting money in your check in your pocket, if anything, what else you doing with that content? At least with that stuff, you get something from
okay, I'm gonna put that out there right now. I'm gonna do the transaction. I'm gonna do the transition to action plan and homework. Homework action plan is for y'all out there. What y'all want us to talk about? Give us some salacious stuff to talk about and see, because you know what, we're gonna try our hardest. We're gonna try our hardest to give y'all some non-pork rinds. You know what I'm saying? Some pork rinds with no pig in them.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Yeah,
that's what you said we do, man. When people give us the most unhealthy thing, we be like, well, we gotta make it healthy.
We gotta give you that vegan bacon. Come out the vegan bacon.
Exactly.
That turkey bacon.
We're gonna give you the pork rinds with no pig in it.
Okay, now I understand.
Yeah, man. That's my action plan, and man, and that's y'all homework. I'm gonna get out there and say it today, man. I want y'all to send us what y'all want us to talk about. Give us the most salacious headline, and you know what? Even give us some advice on how to cover it. I want to hear this.
You know what? We could be messy. That's actually a topic in mind I think we could have talked about, but I guess we could save it for another time.
But there's some messy that I'm willing to do, but there's other messy that I'm not willing to do. Like I'm not willing to get on here and just talk about other people's podcasts or something like that, or just
we ain't care.
Or be shaming people, body shaming, talking about someone's weave, or what I'm saying, or talk about Fat Joe with his shirt off with his jacket on that he just now posted recently. I'm not gonna talk about that.
Nah, they ain't our thing.
Yeah. Because I could be petty because they was on Lizzo. But you know what? They be shaming men too, overweight men too. They be shaming them, but it just hits different. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. You guys seen that picture of Fat Joe with his shirt off?
No, I haven't.
Oh man. Well, his shirt he had no shirt on underneath this leather jacket. The leather jacket was dope. I think it was like an NBA inspired leather jacket, with the one with the patches on it, with all the teams on it.
Yeah, I used to have a pair of jeans like that.
Yeah,
2000s.
I'm mad at you. I am so upset. I am so upset.
Very tough times. You remember the jeans that had all the logos? I had
those is terrible. Anyways.
And I'm like 5 feet tall, so all them logos were stacked on each other real close.
And you cuffed those jeans too. They was
you had to. Logos real close.
All right, man. I'm about to head out of here. Yo, it's been C Talk. Please make sure you share and we comment. We kept you a little bit later than usual because it's been a while since Bobby, Precious, and myself have been here. If you want to be on C Talk, please make sure that you inbox any one of us. If you got a topic you want us to talk about, make sure you hit us up. If you want to donate to C Talk, make sure you do that. Make sure if you're watching it on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button and get some notifications when we next up. But anyone got anything to say before we leave? We out.
We out. Thanks.
All right.
Y'all.
Peace.